All right, how are you doing? This is episode 2. And I guess on this one, what am I going to go into? Facebook? I got to talk about Facebook. Um, I had done something a while back on one of the first episodes of Blissful about Facebook, but things have gotten so out of hand of recent, it has been terrible, I must say. Um, I think on its face, if you will, Facebook can be a good thing. It's so incredible that you can now communicate with people all across the world, friends who have left your immediate social circle, have gone out, they've started their lives, maybe they've become adults or something along those lines. They go off and they do things, they explore things. You are going off into the world, exploring and doing your own thing, and uh, I've been blessed to at least keep a lot of my old friendships, but some of them ended rather abruptly, and I don't know. It came from a lot of the first one I like to talk about is a friend of my wife. She was my wife's maid of honor at our wedding. We were married in the year 2000, April 9th. Um, and she was a good friend for a long time. And I was just thinking about this today because I did some unpaid work for her. She wrote a book, right, and sent me the manuscript because I'm a writer. And I read the manuscript over. I edited. I did all this stuff, and she didn't even thank me in her book. She self-published, and she wrote this book, and it was really quite interesting. Anyway, the book, and I did a few things for her, and we had some interesting spirited conversations. But then, I have a very unusual sensibility where I will consider myself liberal in certain things and somewhat conservative in others. So I'm kind of a mix of that. You might want to call me an old school liberal who believes in practical common sense, who doesn't believe in social justice, who believes in lower taxes if possible, pro life, and I'm not really a gun guy. I understand and appreciate the need for guns, especially if you're hunting. But I don't appreciate the need for guns when you're scared half to death, because I think a lot of people who use guns are scared half to death. Um, and this person I was going back and forth with. My wife's maid of honor was, I guess, just pro gun or something along those lines. I'm not really sure. But whatever it was, whatever happened, she called me an insulting prick and unfriended me and then blocked me. The funny thing about Facebook, why you unfriend and then block? You unfriend because I don't want to hear what this guy has to say anymore. So I'll take him off my feed. He doesn't show up. But then you block him. What that means is you completely disappeared from that person's life in some way. You're deleted from someone's life. It's like Facebook has taken your identity, turned it into a username and some kind of a designation with a page that can be erased. So it gets erased. And you have to... So, and the thing is, okay, this is also another thing that irritates me about Facebook. As much as I love what it has done for me, my work, and everything else, and making it a very small world that I can communicate with my friends. What I don't like about Facebook is that they don't tell you that you've been unfriended. It's kind of like you've been put on some registry, like some kind of a sex offenders registry. Stay away from that person. It's a great episode of Black Mirror. This is a fantastic show. It's on Netflix. You can find it, I guess, and find it in other places. But there's a Christmas episode they did, like a winter special episode or something, because it was BBC at the time. It was originally produced for BBC. Netflix picked it up, and now they're off to the races. But when you're when you're literally blocked, you're in this Black Mirror. Black Mirror is kind of like a Twilight Zone, but the enemy tends to be technology, like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or something along those lines. And let's say you have an optical chip in your head, and your head is sort of integrated in with this in a kind of cybernetic way. So what happens when you get blocked from people? They can't see you. This one character played by John Hamm goes on some kind of a registry where he is blocked by everyone. So all they see is he doesn't see them. He can't see them. through his own eyes. They're completely blocked out, or it's like static or something, or snow. It's like people-shaped static waves or something. And then they see him, and they don't see him. He's blocked out too. So it's like being completely removed from life. I can't imagine how you could function if that happens. So, but in Facebook, in the lore, in the realm of Facebook that we're in right now, you can be blocked and unfriended, and the only indication that you would have, that if you're blocked, actually, there's no indication. You can't find this person at all. They've completely disappeared. If you're unfriended, which was, I guess, the only thing that people did a couple of years ago, now they're blocking. But when you were unfriended, you could see that person was still there, but then it says, that you're not friends with that person. So you're like, my God, why? That's the first question you get in your head is why? So, I mean, after that, I would occasionally be unfriended, or not really unfriended. People would just disappear from Facebook. They would leave Facebook. There's a couple of people that I became friends with who just left Facebook. So you're no longer friends with them because they're no longer on Facebook. And then I think what happened after that was the election. The election caused a lot of problems for people. They, it was a bad situation. They were convinced their girl was going to get in, and when she didn't, people went nuts. There's a very good episode of Blissful, I think, Confederacy of Douchebags. I think that's what it's called. It was like maybe 3 or 4 part series. And then there was a follow-up that we did after Election Day called Seeds from the Suicide Tree. Look that up if you want. It's a good conversation. My friends, the thing about it is, like I said, I consider myself an old school liberal, right? My friends had a lot of them had just bitten into this new world liberal philosophy of, I guess, what they call globalism and multiculturalism. But it's funny, I was talking to my wife earlier, and I was like, I'm all for the concept of multiculturalism. I love the idea of that. I live in New York. New York is the capital of multiculturalism. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a man, woman, and child of every race around you. And I love that. I love our culture. I love what we bring to this nation, because this nation is multicultural. My problems tend to stem from cultures that don't approve of us, therefore are not being multicultural. So the liberal mindset is to welcome these people with open arms. Come here, friend, and meanwhile they've got a knife in their hand and they want to end you because they don't like your way of life. And I'm like, it's not embracing anything. You're not embracing anything when you do that. You're shutting down everything. And then we get into Antifa later with all these people so irate. They don't want to admit. I think one of the bigger problems is that they don't want to admit that they just don't like Trump. And I don't like Trump. I really don't like Trump. I didn't vote in this election, but I don't tend to vote. I think the last time I voted was 92, Clinton. Or maybe Al D'Amato for Senate in 1994. I'm not sure. He didn't win. Anyway, I just like Al. I thought he was cute. But I will say that because of Trump being elected, it really kind of brought out the worst in people. If you listen to Seeds from the Suicide Tree, you'll hear people threatening to kill themselves. Please send an ambulance over here. I'm going to fucking kill myself. I mean it. It's just why? Why are you going to do that? Just because a dude got elected? I mean, Jesus Christ, who gives a rat's? I mean, I'm one of those people. I don't care. And also living in New York, it's, there's really no way a Republican is ever going to get the vote in New York for president anyway. New York is bought and paid for by Democrats, so Hillary was going to take New York. And all she really had to do was go to Wisconsin, folks. She had gone to Wisconsin and acted like a human being. She might be president right now. So this really brought out the worst in people. I saw dear friends of mine who were absolutely vicious. I feel like they had turned into monsters. Now, one such friend was an ex-girlfriend of mine. This is go back a while. Geez, I was a kid a long time ago, but I found that her tone had shifted considerably. And she did not want to hear a lot of things. She did not want to hear what I said. My opinion was that Hillary was the worst candidate that could possibly run for the Democratic Party. She's toxic. She defends the actions of her husband. She tries to destroy the lives of women who've accused her husband of really kind of terrible things. And I just thought she was a terrible candidate. And she didn't want to hear this friend of mine. And she's, gets really angry. I mean, like everything has to turn into some kind of anti-Trump rant. And again, I don't support Trump. I think the guy's, I have this earmarked for another episode later on, but I think he's more savvy than smart. He's not a smart guy. But a lot of my other friends, I have friends that go across the political divide. So you got a lot of hardcore liberal types who are going to vote for a Hillary Clinton, or if I'm hearing correctly, Elizabeth Warren at some point in the future. Although it seems like the Democrats are really trying to destroy Hillary so that she cannot, run. And I have friends who voted for Trump, and both sides are very zealous. Both sides think they're right, and they're both wrong. They're both wrong. These are terrible candidates. They've always been, and if you don't believe me, I mean, just look at the fact, he might have won the election, but is he getting anything done? I don't think he is, because they are just doing their level best to try and destroy him, his reputation, whatever it is. That's what they're trying to do. And when that happens, there's no progress. Nothing gets done. It's going to be status quo. It's always going to be like that. Prices will get higher, and it will just be sort of stuck in the mud. This stagnation, running in place. That's what we're doing. But I messaged her privately, and I said, what's wrong with you? Why are you so mad at me? And she's like, fuck off. And then she says, I never liked you. You would I never loved you, and all this stuff. And I think it's funny, because I think I still have a few of her love letters. She used to write me love letters and poetry all the time. It was so interesting. She was a really nice person back in those days. I don't know what happened to her. And she said some really vicious, nasty things to me. And I was shocked, and I was disappointed. I was very sad about that. But that's all right. It's okay. What I prefer to do is I like to wait. I like to play the waiting game. I like to be patient with people. I try to be patient with people, because I know at some point, you shouldn't treat people badly, right? But if they get to a point where they've written me off, or they've written off somebody else, I like to think that they're going to sit there for a second saying, wait a minute, I took this way too seriously, and I've burned some bridges, and I shouldn't do that, and I'm sorry for that. And that's all you can hope for, is that people will eventually learn from their mistakes. And stop thinking they're right all the time. I mean, I don't know that I think I'm right all the time, but I do take stock, maybe privately. Yeah, you're probably right. That maybe I'm thinking that. That's fine. Now, I guess maybe like the third instance of this happening. Well, let me see. Before her, there was another person. This is the white privilege argument. I love this one. This is fantastic. I'm not permitted an opinion on anything because I'm white. And I've lived a life of lavish, lush comfort. I have castles all over the world that are heated and air conditioned. I have indoor-outdoor pools. I have everything. I have a family that has given me everything I could ever possibly want, except none of that is true. I grew up poor, always have, had to work for everything. Never knew my father. I was homeless when I was 16. Lived homeless, basically, for 2 years. Yet I'm full of privilege. I've been given everything. And I'm talking to a woman who is a filmmaker, fellow filmmaker. She's working on some kind of a horror movie. I forgot the name of it. I wish I could promote it for you, because I think people should be making films. That's fantastic. And there were a few things that kind of irritated me about some of the processes that she was engaged in. But then she started talking about white privilege and women and victims, and this was maybe a good year before this whole thing about sexual harassment and allegations and all that stuff and rape entered into, or exploded into this zeitgeist we have right now. So I was like, I really don't consider myself a beneficiary of white privilege. And she's like, who the hell do you think you are? Blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. And then all these other ladies, I'm assuming, and a couple of men get into this whole, and they're just hurling accusations at me or rebukes and insults or something. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? Why do you have to be so angry all the time? I mean, like, people are, and it's getting even worse. It's getting much worse. People are just getting crazy, and it gets to be a bit difficult. But at that point, I ended the discussion. I left the discussion, and I unfriended her just to kind of, because I felt like this is a young lady, and I don't think she knows how the world works. Or she can try to break it and reset it to her liking, or remold it to fit her own image. She wants to think that she's a victim. She wants to believe that she is harassed. She wants to believe that she is a recipient of pain, intolerance, racism, or something, because she's apparently some kind of mixed breed lesbian type of girl or something like that. That's fine. Whatever you want to believe. But the thing is, don't attack other people because you believe something. You have to understand that you are, by nature of being human, you are a deceiver, or you are being lied to yourself. That's just how I see it. So I cut it off there, and I let it go. Now, let me see, the most recent incident, I want to say, a very dear friend of mine who I was also involved with when I was younger. This had nothing to do with anything. This is just, I think, my wife told me. She's like, they don't want to hear other opinions. They don't want you disagreeing with them. They want you to agree with them and validate what they do. She is, I guess, involved with, she's a very frustrating individual. She had a child very young, and this child has run away on several occasions. Run away from home. Not that she's missing. She ran away from home. So she, and then she never got married or anything like that. She moved far away. She's involved with this guy who she swears is going to marry her at some point. This guy blocked me one time. Her boyfriend blocked me because I disagreed with the idea that Bruce Jenner is a woman. I said Caitlyn Jenner is not a woman. He's calling himself Caitlyn Jenner, and he's not a woman. And he blocked me because of that. It's just opinions, man. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I believe that men are men and women are women, and there's nothing you can do that's going to alter that genetic strain, that DNA. He got angry at me for that. I mean, it's like, if you believe it, that's fine, man. I'm not going to, but he's vicious. It's vicious because you block people, you unfriend them or whatever. I don't know. I was never friends with him. So he blocked me. And when you block someone you're not friends with, you just don't see what they write. It's like a discussion could begin. Anyway, it was fine for a couple of months after, I think. Maybe a year. I'm not sure. Anyway, she's very immature. I want to say immature because she says something about, I feel like she was drunk when she posted this, but she said something like her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend is a twat waffle. A twat waffle. I said, are you sure? I had to respond to her because I'm used to dealing with people in an honest way. I'm not going to be like, oh, yes, you're right. Absolutely. And that's what all our other friends were saying. Oh, yes, you're right. Twat waffle. Okay. And I said, do you think it's wise to call her twat waffle? Do you think that's wise to say that? I mean, it's kind of like sour grapes. You don't want to say that. And she's like, what do you mean? She comes right back away. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I was like, well, it's kind of, it's not, I don't know what I said to trigger her, but I think I was thinking that it wasn't like an appropriate thing to say. It's kind of inappropriate. You shouldn't call people names in this kind of a forum. And then, like, I think a couple of hours later, she unfriended me. I mean, she didn't even, like, bother to, say anything like goodbye, asshole, or something like that. She could have said, goodbye, asshole, I'm unfriending you. That would have been nice. But no, instead it becomes this. This is what you do with people. So, I get unfriended for that reason. That's fine. Now Facebook has gotten even worse because people, there's a lot of sensitivity. I think most recently I was involved in a bit of a Facebook discussion. There was a story circulating because this is holiday season. And so you want to get your feel-good stories out there. And this is definitely a maneuver that's been orchestrated by the media for years. They like to put these stories out there, and I don't really believe them. These are the stories about the kindness of strangers and how it results in an abundant embarrassment of riches. This one was a woman who, she let me see, she's driving in her car. She runs out of gas. She's out of gas, right? So she's got to walk up the road to a gas station or something like that. But she has no money. She has no money. You're driving around with no cash. So a homeless man. This is around my old stomping grounds in Philly, New Jersey area, right? This homeless man gives her his last 20, and she buys gas with it, and she's like, "Oh my God, you are a saint, you are an angel. I am going to start a GoFundMe for you." And as of last call, which is about an hour ago, they've raised $300,000 for this homeless man. Okay. Now, I had two theories about this. One, this is complete horse shit because I don't believe these stories at all. I don't believe they exist. It was made up by the media. None of the people are like, don't you understand GoFundMe? Don't you understand how that works? Yes, I know crowdsourcing. I know all about that. I talk a lot about it on the final episode of Two Davids Walking to a Bar, a series on video. I'm talking about crowdfunding that goes on with Kickstarter, where all these filmmakers and also DVD and Blu-ray manufacturing concerns start these kind of crowdfunding projects. And anyway, the other theory was that they're scam artists. This is a paper moon type thing, and they're getting a shitload of money. And where's that money going to go? Because I just didn't buy it. It sounded like something I'd seen in a Hallmark movie or something on Lifetime, or some kind of Christmas miracle movie. And the thing is, I mean, like a bunch of people were like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And all this stuff in Egypt. Oh yeah, why don't you try? I said like, all I have to do then is pretend I'm a homeless vet, and I'll get a shitload of money. I'll get $300,000. I'll present a very good case for that. And they're like, "Oh, well, go ahead, try it. I don't think it'll work out." And I had to be flippant. I had to be a smart ass. So I put up a picture of Eddie Murphy in Trading Places, where he's pretending to be blind and not have legs. He's rolling around on a scooter. It's like the funniest. Oh, what a great movie! And that was back when Eddie Murphy was funny and not annoying. Very brief time in his career. But it is possible, and it's right there. I mean, it's like right there. You would think that truth was stranger than fiction, but I think this is fiction. I don't buy it for a second. But all these people came out saying, you must be the life of the party, and wow, geez, you really hate, don't you? You're full of hate. I'm like, I'm not full of hate. I don't really care. And then one guy says, prove it. Prove that you think that this is bullshit. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. I know you think this is a court of law or something, but it's not. It's a social media site. I don't care. It's not. I don't really care whether it's true or not. I'm just saying it's bullshit. I don't buy it for a second. The burden of proof is on you, my friend. You are the one who has to prove to me. I want to know everything about this woman. I want to know what her car looks like. I want to know what road they were on. I want to see this man's discharge papers. I didn't buy that he was a homeless man because the photographs that they put up there looked staged. And then I looked at another one, and my daughter was in the room. I was like, Regan, does this look like a green screen to you? It looks like they're standing in front of a green screen. I feel like this could be fabrication, just complete and utter hogwash. And she's like, yeah, it does. It looks like a green screen. So there you go. You know, Adam Mal's a babe. She's going to be 11 on Christmas. I just don't buy it. And my conversation, this was part of a news feed, by the way. This wasn't part of anybody's timeline. It wasn't part of anybody's anything. But everything I had said, and I guess the conversation or whatever, maybe I was blocked, I'm not really sure, but it was all deleted. It was very good. I mean, and what's more, while the majority was overwhelmingly disagreeing with me, there were more than a few voices that expressed skepticism, and that is good. You should not believe things just because you read them in a Facebook feed. And I said that. I said Mark Zuckerberg all but admitted they don't check anything for veracity. They don't check anything for validity. It's basically the check clears, your news item goes up. And that's it. And that's where you get into all the stuff about Russian hacking and all that. He admitted it. And he claims to be taking steps. But the thing is, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, top of the news feed, Planet X, the invisible rogue planet, is about to collide with Earth. This was a news item, and I put it up on my page, and I examined it because it had all the elements of eye-catching, media-related material. It was designed to scare people. And then the next day, another article comes up. The rogue planet will not collide with Earth, but it will someday. You know, and this is all obviously meant to test people. It's meant to test them. It's meant to manipulate them. It's meant to play psychological games on them. So you should probably take that into consideration before you read any kind of news, especially news these days, because we're seeing that the news can be altered, it can be manipulated, it can be shaped, and it can be used to create a reaction out of you, to get a reaction out of you. So remember that, okay? I'm going to wrap this episode up, and it was good to finally get that one off my chest, I got to say. Everybody, have a good night. And here's our outro music.